Hello, my name is Samuel Lovelace, and this is my callings report. So I'm going to start whenever the 10 seconds hits. So if it's 5 minutes and 10 seconds, that means I hit 5 minutes on that. All right, my callings report is over George Fox. He was born in 1624, kind of the 1600s. And his main concerns with his writings, he did a lot of things, just various controversial pieces. He enjoyed going into all sorts of um, different things. He go into history, government, various things that he really had no business dealing with. But he was a very charismatic man, and he enjoyed sort of just that uh, going in and just trying to argue a point for something. But the two things that he was very focused on, and he was definitely a solid theologian, was he was part of the Quakers, so he was actually part of the whole starting up the Quakers. Um, and he was also a very big advocate for a thing called Inner Light. So Inner Light is a Quaker ideology, actually. So they kind of do go hand in hand. But essentially, it's the idea of like your conscience. It tells everyone has their conscience. It tells you what is right, what is wrong. You don't need someone to tell you, hey, don't kill this person. Because you just kind of know that simply by just how morality works. But basically, he took that, and then also, the whole story of like, if you believe you should not eat meat that is sacrificed to idols, don't eat meat sacrificed to idols. But if you don't see an issue with it, there's not an issue with it. So he kind of just took that all to the extreme, um, and he was very against, churches having this, very liturgical and like the structure that was very, we have this set of rules and regulations, and this is how we do it. He believed everyone should sort of, by their inner light, which is where the name comes from, they should know themselves, and it should be more of an individual basis. Um, and yeah, so this is actually a lot different from what I grew up with. I grew up a Presbyterian, so it is one of those things. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. So it's very different for me. Not to say that it's wrong. I do think he has some good. Um, it's a good idea, good principles. I just think the extreme that he usually takes it to is not always wise, and it's very dangerous when you say, "Oh, just whatever your conscience says, it's fine." Because for two reasons. One, I think there's an argument to be made that everyone's conscience isn't always correct, or at the very least, and this is my second thing I was going to say, you're not always able to understand what your conscience is telling you. Yeah, so it can lead to a lot of issues, splits in the church, that sort of thing. And I think whereas that that unity and that fellowship can be good. So I do have to kind of disagree with him there. As far as how the reading would apply to kind of where his beliefs are, our reading was sort of over like the structure of how a church is supposed to be set up, which is pretty much exactly what he was against. The particular passage that we read was more about sort of explaining how work should be distributed among people. So I don't really feel like he would have had too much of a disagreement with that specifically, but just in general, the idea of like divvying up these things and setting it up in a liturgical, your church deciding it kind of way. I do think he would be pretty against that. That is pretty much like the exact opposite of what he sort of theologically was going for. Final question. If I were to accept his view, how would that change my life? I think first off, there is kind of an obvious answer of no, it wouldn't change anything, because his view is basically just do what you believe. So if I believe this, you know, but for the sake of sort of humoring the question, kind of having some discussion there, I think if I was to go further away from the idea of like having church being this very I don't want to say it's like a controlling thing, because it's not like that, but just being less of a high church kind of system. Um, Definitely, my church would not be accommodating for that, so that'd be one thing. But in general, I think I'm actually kind of tending towards sort of his ideas, just not to quite to the extreme. So I don't really think there'd be too much of a difference. Because yeah, like I said, they are great ideas. The idea of conscience and you being able to kind of decide for yourself certain things. Um, but to a certain extent, I don't know. I still, like I said, I feel like that's kind of dangerous. So yeah, the handout that I have, I've got it here. I'm not sure. I'll probably submit it. So